another happy Tuesday night. I think this might be the first time I'm doing an actual video when the game is still going on, but I don't see Orlando coming back from 25 with 5 minutes left in this Boston game. They are team 18. We have Memphis, we have Miami, we have tonight we added Milwaukee, which is certainly the Giannis and Halliburton stuff is certainly fascinating. And now we are adding the Orlando Magic to the offseason list of teams that have now been eliminated from the offseason, from the postseason. I apologize. I had made it, excuse me. I had made it an effort to theme these by restaurant reviews, and I kind of missed the boat a little bit here on that. So I do apologize. I guess if we're doing a restaurant review on Orlando, it's like, I don't know, it's like Cracker Barrel. It's like, the food's good, like a good breakfast and stuff, but just it is what it is, man. You're going to get in there, you're going to get the pancakes, and they're going to be good, but there's just there's nothing else special besides it. So, and here's the story with the Orlando Magic. To finish the season 500, we know a litany of different injuries with Bancaro and Wagner, and then Jalen Suggs. They are entering an offseason, which is going to be interesting. It's going to test the conservativeship, I guess, conservativeness of their front office. And that's not a criticism here. Orlando has built their roster primarily through the draft. 9 out of their 15 players on the roster were draft picks. That's the most of any team in the NBA. They have made, there's 2 players on the roster who were acquired in trades, Wendell Carter Jr. and Gary Harris Jr. I think it's just Gary Harris. It's getting late here. So they have basically tried to, as I said, thread the needle of drafting, developing, and retaining their own players while still trying to be in a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference. They likely would have been a top 6 team if they had stayed healthy this year. And Jeff Weltman, their head of basketball operations, said it in February. And Orlando didn't make a trade at the deadline. They basically said, we've kind of doubled down on continuity. We believe in the way we're built. So this is kind of who they are. They had an opportunity last year to certainly spend big. And there was a method to the madness. They did go out and sign Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and they renegotiated Jonathan Isaac, and they brought back Mo Wagner and Gary Harris, because eventually the cost of this roster was going to be pretty high if you went out and said, we're going to take our, $50 million in cap space, and we're going to take it on Paul George, or we're going to split it up in 2 $25 million players. Eventually the cost, and we're going to talk about it, is going to get high, and it's going to be ridiculously high this offseason. So here's the questions, right? We're into questions tonight. We did that video. Offseason presents 2 questions, okay? Can their core, as healthy, compete with Boston and Cleveland? They did last year with Cleveland in the first round. When you see where the Cavaliers are right now, a little bit of a tweak, here and there. They basically brought back that same group, made a coaching change, and here we are. And I'm not saying you're going out to make a coaching change with Jamal Mosley, because this Orlando team is a little bit different than they were a year ago, certainly with injuries. So you have to ask yourself, do we go down the same path, keep this group together, rely on continuity, and roll it back? Or how much finances will play a role in keeping this team together? Kind of 2 big questions you're asking yourself, because here's the story. They've got 15 players under contract, but for the first time since 10-11, they're projected to be over the luxury tax, and they're right at the second apron. So in Orlando, you are likely not going to see some of the same faces that you saw finish this roster, finish the season. And you will have a decision to make with Gary Harris, who's got a team option, and Mo Wagner, who was a good chance for 6th man of the year, who's got a team option. and Corey Joseph and Caleb Houston, smaller contracts. I'm about to sneeze. Who has a team option? Or maybe you have a decision with Jonathan Isaac and his contract to move off money. What you see with this roster is not what is going to be on in the lineup next year in when the season gets going in October. It can't be. It's not feasibly possible to be in a second apron team with a team that won 41 games. It ain't happening. I'm telling you, it ain't happening. And that's going to force Orlando to get out of their comfort level a little bit here. They have, as I said, $210 million, 207. We'll put up the slide too. They've got decisions on those 4 team options. They're 1 million short below the second. They've got 4 picks. They are in great shape draft wise. They've got 16th on the bingo board, 16, 25, 46, 57. They've got all their first and future years, the next 7. They can trade for first. They've got swap rights with, let's slide down here, but swap rights with their own and less favorable between Phoenix and Washington. They got 13 seconds. They're in great position from a draft equity standpoint. You have got to get your finances in order. That's going to be the big thing. And you got to get healthy. You got to get Jalen Suggs back healthy. When you look at their priority, of course, we talked about the finances because this is what's going to happen. Year 1 of the Franz Wagner max and Jalen Suggs rookie extension are going to kick in next year. And then when you add a likely 247 for Paolo Banchero, who is rookie extension eligible and will be signed probably when the moratorium lists in July and will be agreed upon before, we'll sign a 247 contract that probably could increase to 290 plus with all NBA language in there. It starts to get high. And that's the downside is when you find guys, you draft them, develop them, and then eventually you got to pay. So you have to figure out what you're going to do. So is it Wagner not exercising his option? I would opt exercise it and bring him back. Or do you have to trade Isaac or Goga Batata? I've said this all along. What the CBA does, it forces you to not have all your toys in the toy box. You've got to make choices. You can't have all the toys in the room, right? You got to spread them out to everybody. Or Gary Harris, certainly, because you've got Anthony Black, you got Suggs, and you got Jet Howard. Here's the other thing, too. It's not talked about as much. The jury is still out. When you have 2 lottery picks like they did that year and they took Black and Jet Howard, and you got some finances coming down the road, you got to hit on those, man. And I'm not saying they haven't hit on them, but they need those guys to develop into high-level rotational players. And I do think the jury is still out. So Banchero is the guy to keep an eye on with the extension. Caleb Houston's pretty interesting. He had a decent second half of the year. He's extension eligible. Cole Anthony, as of October 1st, we went over team needs. Oh my God, how did I forget this? Shooting. Magic became the first team since the 16-17 Oklahoma City Thunder to rank last in 3-point percentage and still reach the postseason. That's pretty remarkable. So that is the skinny on Orlando. They've got to figure out their finances. They've got to figure out if they want to go outside the box and take a leap of faith, which they have not done. Rightfully so. I understand. I would love to just draft and develop and do what Oklahoma City's doing and basically have a load of picks and churn them over and have that one franchise player in Shea. But here's Orlando right now. They're not where they were back in 2015, but you don't want to be one of those teams that you've basically have lost in the first round 4 years in a row, and we're in year 2 right now. And then you're like, well, what's the cost to keep this roster? I think there's still a financial window. I think there's still a window where this team has upside to it. But at the end of the day, you got to stay healthy. We will talk soon. That is it for tonight. We have no Detroit Pistons. They won in New York. The Halliburton and Giannis stuff was fascinating. I am pro Giannis as far as with Halliburton's dad on that. You don't need to be on the court. I get where we get all emotional with that, but that was Bush League. Talk soon. NBA on ESPN.